Yeah, I was thinking about pulling it in.
What do you mean?
Because I was going to work on front sheet metal.
Just move the camera this way.
I like to have it turned around. We'll get the 81 moved in and then we'll turn it around.
Oh my word, it's so much work.
Yeah, so much work. Okay guys, so getting everything moved around here. Going to put the 81 in the garage finally. It's been sitting out here in the driveway for a while. And I've got to get the sheet metal on Project Overkill so that we can start on the doors. I want to go ahead and line up the front sheet metal. So what I'm going to do is actually borrow this door because I don't really have a driver's side door yet. I've got the frame and the new skin for Overkill, but I'm going to use this door to give me an initial gap. And we'll get this car up in the garage and get the door off of it, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so just getting this thing set up to take this door off. Let me show you what we got. So I built this stand a while back. It was made to basically slide under the door, put some ratchet straps on the door, unbolt the door from the car and just roll it away. That's the way I designed it. I didn't take in consideration the tires that basically determine the ride height. And this car actually sets a lot lower than the 72 does right now. And right now that stand is just sitting under there fairly loose. I've got the rear of the car on jack stands now. And what I'm going to do is just a little bit of space right there on the bottom. But there's quite a bit there at the front. So I'm going to go ahead and let the front air out of the tires. Drop the front end a little bit. And then we'll ratchet strap that door down and move it away from the car. I've got a little work to do on this thing to try to get it to where it'll work. So guys, there's the door on the, I call that little apparatus Rolo door. But obviously I got some work to do before I'm ready to put a fully finished painted door on it and roll it up to a car and bolt it. You can do this with a jack several other ways, but these doors are heavy and I'm here by myself a lot of times, and I didn't want to have something painted and be fumbling around with bolts trying to get it lined up to the car. So that's kind of why I built this. I've got some bugs to work out of it for sure. So let's get this out of the way. I want to finish getting everything situated and put back up and everything, and I'll bring you guys back shortly. Okay guys, working on getting this door fitted up to the car, and I was just taking a look at the bolts that I pulled out of the 81 Camaro that went into this door, and they was in pretty rough shape. And like I've mentioned before, I believe these fasteners, bolts and fasteners, are one of the most overlooked things on a restoration. And I don't know if this will pick up on camera, but a lot of these bolts are pretty much junk. You really got to inspect your threads and take a look at them and see what they look like. I had 3 out of 6 that were pretty much gone. Now, years ago I parted out a 79 Camaro. It was just too far gone, and I happened to go down there and look through the bolts, and I did find several of those bolts. But the problem with those bolts, a lot of times they're in just as worse condition as the ones you have. But I was able to find some that were good, and I've actually already sandblasted them and coated them in the cabinet. So they're pretty much ready to bag and tag. A lot of these fasteners are specific for certain parts of the car. Now, one thing that I found interesting was these are the door bolts for 72 Camaro, and I would imagine they're pretty much the same for 70 to 73. I'm not sure when they changed to this style, but these are the ones for the early Camaros, and actually got the same threads. So I mean, you could possibly use these, but these are the ones that was original to the car. I'm going to use these in mock-up phases since I've got a bunch of extra ones, and I'm going to save these for actually assembling of the car. But like I said, guys, that's one of the most overlooked things I believe on restorations, and I also believe it's one of the things that will give you a lot of trouble as far as finding the right fasteners and getting them on the car and getting them to look right and everything. But just thought I'd throw that out there since we are working on the door. And I think I will go ahead and have to let the air out of the tires again to get it to match up with the hinges. Because as you can tell, the hinges are actually setting up quite a bit higher than this door. So we're going to have to drop the car a little bit. Okay, YouTube, getting this door lined up here. It had turned out to be a little bit more of a chore than I had anticipated. You have a cage nut apparatus here with 3 threaded holes, and that also allows you some adjustability within the door. And usually it just can reach in here and hit this tab here and line it up. But I went to do that on this door, and I forgot that I was working with a loaded door. This has got the glass in it and everything. So wound up using a piece of wire and a pocket screwdriver and lining the holes up to where I could get them in there. So I've got one more bolt to go in. The bottom went in fairly easy, and I don't have anything tight right now. Everything's just fairly snug. So go ahead and get this other bolt in. Then we'll go ahead and see about snugging it up and then start adjusting it. That'll be the actual hard part, I think. The actual rocker gap looks pretty decent right on the initial close, but it's still going to need some adjusting. And we'll go ahead and set the rocker and quarter gap, and then I'm going to start putting the front seat metal on the car, and I'll bring you back when I get a little bit more done. And this is not going to be a final gap of the car by any means. It's just going to be a rough end, and we're going to take some notes on what those gaps are, and we'll have something to go by when we put the new doors on the car, and then we'll go ahead and get to the quarters. I'll bring you back shortly. Probably one of the most aggravating things on a second gen Camaro is these long heavy doors. Now this is a GM door off of the 81, and as far as I know, GM quarter panels, GM rockers, and it still give me a fit. This here is about the only gap I could get out of it. I'm not done with it yet. I'm at the point I'm going to stop for tonight. What's weird is this body line looks right on it, but this one is a little high. But we know this quarter's been worked, and we don't really know exactly what's been done in here. This has still got this old primer on it, so we really don't know. The door is opening and closing good, and I've got it set to where there's no weight on the striker, so when I pop the door it doesn't drop or anything. It's just, I think that's the way it should be. Now the rocker looks okay, but now when I get to the front, it does look like that the door needs to be pulled out a little bit down at the bottom. This door does kick up a little bit right there at the bottom, but that's in the door. You can plainly see that. And then this gap, I wish I had just a little bit more of a gap. It gets a little tight here and then opens up right here. Driver's door on this car has always been a problem because at one time something happened to the original door, and I've got some pictures of it in one of the videos that shows where it was wrinkled here. And I think I've got these adjusted as far forward as I can. I'm going to try a little bit more. But everything from this point on will just be minor adjustments. I don't want to lose all this that I've gained so far. But yeah, you can definitely tell that rocker is sticking out just a little bit from the door. So the whole door on the bottom, especially up here toward the front, needs to be pulled out just a little bit. And I think I mentioned it on one of my very first videos on YouTube. The original owner told me he had it put on a frame machine because he didn't understand this. This is right here in the firewall. But I didn't really see any damage on the original fender I pulled off of it, or no damage on the frame itself, and the frame does match the car. So this is kind of weird to me. Now one thing about it, this car was a drag car, and somewhere between the early 80s and late 80s it was a drag car. And I just wonder if maybe it hadn't done a wheelie stance or something and came down pretty hard on the left front and caused that. I do have a new firewall to go in it, and that will take care of that. Hopefully everything else out here is okay. One last look at this door. I've got it adjusted about as good as I'm going to get it for the stage that we're in, I do believe. Got the door to rocker gap looking pretty decent. Right at about a 5/16 gap on the bottom of that. And to me it seems a little wide, but that's what I've got on the other side as well. But it's pretty even all the way through there. Never could get much of a gap on this door to quarter. I've got it right now at about 1/4 of an inch, and that's about what I've got on the other side. And this will work to get the fenders on the car. the body lines did match up finally. This one still looks a little high to me, and it looks like this is slightly going down at a downward angle. We'll just have to see once we get our door on here that we're going to use, and then we'll have to see what the new quarter looks like. Like I said, this is all in the beginning stages. Looks like a Camaro blew up in here. I've got some parts out of storage, and I'm going to start working on getting the fenders and everything aligned. And I'm also going to go ahead and on this other door, of course you can't see much in here because I've got everything in the way, but right here's a gap on the door. And I'm going to go ahead and install the latch and a handle on this door just so I can pull it closed from when we're setting the sheet metal on the front of it again. That's probably going to do it for this video, guys. Next time you see the car, we'll be working on the core support, getting it square to the rest of the car, and starting to hang some fenders. We'll see how that goes. I've got a lot of time invested in this door. I mean, actually, a couple evenings. I got so frustrated with it a couple times I just had to walk away. But it's a patience builder for sure. Pretty happy with the way it looks for now. Appreciate everybody watching, and we'll have a little bit more progress. I'll be back.